More and word problems we don't have time for today, but we can come back and show some time for. All right, so we've got systems of inequalities here. Who remembers what an inequality is? What's different about an inequality compared to an equation? What's different? Jenny? It's got negative and positive numbers, sometimes, yes. But what's different when we graph it? What do we have to do differently? Yeah, it's our Pac-Mans. It's our little alligator mouse. All right, we've got our inequalities, which are the little Pac-Mans or gator mouse. So what's different when we graph it? What do we have to do differently, other than just putting the line? Hamza? We have to shade, right. We have to shade our solutions. And there's something else we have to do as well. What do we have to do with our line? Yes? Right, we have sometimes a solid line, sometimes a dotted line. All right, so systems of inequalities. Let's go fill in some of these blanks here. I know you guys are just itching to do so. Systems of inequalities is two or more inequalities. Just like systems of equations, those two or more equations, now it's two or more inequalities. And before, like we talked about, when we graph our equations, the solution was where they intersect, right? Just that one point. But with inequalities, like Jenny said, we have a lot of different numbers that are answers. It's not just one answer. So solutions to a system of inequalities is an ordered pair that makes both inequalities true. Makes both inequalities true. So it's not just one solution that makes one inequality true. It has to make both true. And like we said, when we're graphing this, for equations, the answer is where they intersect. Well, with inequality, since we have to shade, our answer is going to be where the shadings overlap, where the shadings intersect, where they overlap. So go ahead and write that in underneath it. Shadings overlap. That's going to be our area that has the solutions. Okay, so just a reminder of what we did last unit. A solid line, so we have our four symbols here. I'm going to go ahead and number these 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so I want your input. We have two blanks here. So two of my inequalities I use a solid line for. So I want you to show me on your two hands. If you think it's number 1, hold up 1. If you think it's 2, hold up 2. If you think it's 3, hold up 3. If you think it's 4, hold up 4. So there's two blanks. I want you to use both hands and show me which ones you think they're going to be. Oh, which one do we? Which one? One. Whew. That would make a difference. Okay, now let's do it. Go ahead and show me on your hands which ones you think they are, and don't say 5. So 1, 2, 3, or 4. What are my blanks going to be? Your first blank on one hand, your second blank on the other hand. I've got 3 people participating. Jordy, I want to see your hands. Judy, I want to see your answers. Maddie, Sydney, Abby, Cynthia, Hamza, Julia. Thank you. All right, 1 and 2, good. My solid is going to be where they have the line underneath. So less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. All right, then the other ones are my dotted lines. They don't have the or equal to underneath. So less than or the greater than. All right, also remember that we have to shade where all of our solutions are. Shade where all of the solutions are. So we need to, before we can even graph this, we have to get this in the form y equals mx plus b. What's my slope in my y equals mx plus b? What's the slope? F. my slope? And what's my y-intercept? B. Remember, we start off by graphing my y-intercept, then use your slope to find your other points. Okay. Now we told you this before briefly when we did shading inequalities, and we're going to use it more today. We shade above when our inequality is greater than or equal to. So shade above for greater than or equal to. So when we see those, we're going to shade above. And this is when it's in the format y equals mx plus b, or y is greater than equal to mx plus b. We shade below when it's less than or less than or equal. Okay. So shade above, greater than, shade below, less than. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 1 together. It already has it in the form mx plus b, so we should have an easier time graphing. I'm going to call on you guys to help me out with graphing. Jordy, you're going to be my first person. Taking a look at my first equation here. What is my y-intercept? So when everyone on your graph, go to your y-intercept of 2 and plot that point. We should all be pros at graphing. Alright, and next I'm going to have Justin help me out. Justin, what is my slope? Okay, here's my slope, -2. And that's the same thing as -2 over 1. So starting at my y-intercept, I go down 2 to the right 1. Down 2 to the right 1. We keep doing this until we run out of room. And I need to get my other dot, so up 2 to the left. You notice it has that negative slope. Alright, and Cynthia. Looking at my inequality, is this going to be a dotted or a solid? Take a look at what we said right above. We have greater than. What does that give? Yeah, a dotted line. A dotted line because it does not have the line underneath it. So go ahead and use your straight edge and let's make this a dotted line. You need to actually draw these lines. Okay? I'm going to rewrite this with our information we just did. So my y-intercept is the point 0, 2. And my slope is -2, which is -2 over 1. Okay, now we have to decide if we're shading above or below. Now, before we used to use a test point, right? So let's use a test point and see where that gets us. When I put in my test point, what point would we always use? The origin, right? That's the easiest one. So if I put 0, 0 in for my equation, I get 0 is greater than, what's -2 times 0? 0. And 0 plus 2 is? 2. Is 0 greater than 2? If you have $0 and I have $2, do you have more than me? No. Not greater than 2. So 0, 0 is saying, don't shade me, I'm not a solution, don't do it. So we shade the other side. Right now I just want you to lightly shade. Just want you to lightly shade. Okay. Now notice it said shade above when it's greater than. So here we would shade above. Alright, it's a greater than, so we would shade above. Well, this is what above looks like. Here's my line, above my line. If you're struggling to know what above means, look at your y-intercept. My y-intercept is 2. What is a number that is greater than 2? 3. And 3 is up here, so that's the side that we shade. You can use that top down. Alright, questions so far? Okay. right. Our next line. Negative. Because it's just a constant. Like we put it over. Or we have just something. All right. Our next equation, our next inequality. We have y is less than or equal to negative 1. What should be coming to your mind for this? What? How do we know how to graph this? What do we have to use? Yes, very good, Jimmy. Bucks and Hoy. We have just one variable, so we need to use either bucks or Hoy. All right, well, since it's y, which one do we use? Soy. And for a y equation, what does it look like, vertical or horizontal? Horizontal. All right, so let's go to y is negative 1. I want everyone on your graph to go to negative 1, plot your dot. And is this a solid or a dotted? Solid line. So let's go ahead and make our solid line there. Okay. Now again, since we used to use a test point, let's take a look what the test point would give me. If I put in 0 for y and 0 for x, is 0 less than or equal to negative 1? No. So that does not work. So 0, 0 is not a solution. So 0, 0 does not work. Do not shade him. He's saying, don't shade me. Shade the other side. So again, let's lightly shade the other side. And notice we have less than or equal to. Less than or equal to means we shade below. And we see we shaded below. So we told you to use the test point before, but now with having two equations, it's probably a bit easier just to do the shade above or below, right? So that's fine to do. You want to use the test point to double check. All right. So our solutions, though, is where the shading overlaps. So when you're doing this, I want you to lightly shade, and then for your final answer, I want you to shade real nicely our shaded region where they overlap. See where they crisscross there? This is where all of our solutions are. In that nice shaded area where they overlap. So when I'm looking at your quizzes and your tests, I want to see I want to see the nice shading be in that area. You can use different colors. You can lightly shade in the others. You can just use the lines like this. But I want to see some distinction. Lets me know this is my answers.
I have lots of crayons and colored pencils. If you ever want to borrow them, you're welcome to come back.
You don't have to do it.
The only part that you need to make dark is where they both are.
Okay, so our solutions before were in the shaded region, right? So now our solution is anything that's in my double shade, in the overlap. So, Maddie, what is one solution for this equation, for this system? Pick anything in your shaded area.
I can't see.
But we need our x to be positive, right? Yeah. So let's go, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That sound good? 3. Sure. 6, negative 3. That works. 6, negative 3. That falls in our shaded region. Anybody want to volunteer another solution? Yes, Jim. 5. Good. Yeah, that sneaks in there. 5, negative 6. Still in that shaded region. Good. Now we could have infinite solutions here, right? Because I could have chosen 6.1 and negative 3.1. I could have chosen 6.01 and negative 3.01. So there's an infinite possibilities there. Just make sure what you pick is in that shaded area. Yeah, I think so. All right. Questions so far on this? Okay, so this is your bare basics. Now let's take a look at number 2. Has a little bit more work with it. All right. Do we know how to graph my first equation, 2x plus y is greater than or equal to negative 1? Right now, as it is, can you graph it? No. What do we have to do? We have to solve for y and change it into y equals mx plus b. So let's rewrite my first equation. 2x plus y is greater than or equal to negative 1. And I'm going to pick on Cynthia for my first equation. Cynthia, what's my first step going to be to get y by itself? I'm going to get y all alone. What do I need to get rid of? Very good, the 2x. And how do I do that? Good, minus 2x. And Julie, I'm going to pick on you next. So we have y is greater than or equal to, again, my x is negative, so it stays negative. My 4 is negative, so it stays negative. All right, Julia. Help a girl out. What's my y-intercept? Good. Not just 4, but good. My y-intercept is negative 4. So I'm going to go to my graph. I'm going to go down to negative 4 and plot my point. And then we're going to do the next equation over here. Evan, you're my next guy. What is my slope?
Slope is negative 2.
Very good. My slope is negative 2. Same thing as negative 2 over 1. And remember, slope is rise over up. So negative 2 means I go down to the right one. And since I'm already off the graph, I need to get the other side. So instead of going down right, I'm going to go up to left. Up to left. Keep doing this till I run out of room. And Judy, let me pick right here. Judy, is this a solid or a dotted line? Solid, very good. Abby, you're going to be my next person. So solid line, let's go ahead and connect these together with a nice solid line. So we had here, it was solid. So Abby, based on my inequality here, is this shade above or below? Let's take a look at our notes. What is this? This is a greater than or equal to? Look above on your paper. Where do you see that? Is that going to be a shade above or a shade below? Here's my greater than or equal to. What category does that fall under? Come on, Abby. Above. We're shading above. We have a greater than. Greater than is above. So, above. Okay, so on our line, we want everything greater than this line, so everything above it. You go from your line and you go up. Greater than is above. All right, let's do our other line. So our second line is x minus 2y is less than 4. Let me go back to Hamza here. Hamza, what's my first step of getting y by itself? Good, subtract x. Subtract it from both sides, so I get negative 2y is less than, my x is negative, so that stays negative. My 4 is positive, so that stays positive. Then I'm going to move over to Justin. Justin, what's my next step? Divide by negative 2. divided by that -2, some alarm should be going off. What do we have to do? What? We do love math. What do we have to do when we're divided by a negative? Flip the sign! Why, thank you, Cynthia. We flipped the sign. You said it too? We flip our sign. That is so important. Otherwise, it's going to mess up your shading, right? So we have y is greater than. Now let's do our part. Positive 1/2 x. And a positive divided by negative is a -2. Okay, I'm going to take a break from that side of the room. Let's go over here. Which means, I just picked on you. So let me start. Maddie, what's my y-intercept? And this equation, what's my y-intercept? Good. -2. So we go down to -2, plot our point. Jordy, you're my next guy. What's my slope? For my blue. 1/2. My slope is what's front of x, so 1/2. Alright, so I go up 1 to the right 2. Notice this is a positive slope. Down 1 to the left 2. Continue it all the way across. So that means I'm going to pick on Evan next. And then Judy, I'm going to pick on you after Evan. Evan, is this a solid or a dotted? Very good, dotted. So let's throw in our dashes here. And Judy, I'm about to ask you about my shape. So let me first write this down. It's dotted. All right, Judy, the ultimate question. We have a greater than. Am I going to shade above or below? Take a look at your notes. Remember, we have greater than. Go back up to your notes. Is that shade above or below? Good. Above. Greater than is above. Also, if you're not sure, take a look at your y-intercept. And it says greater than. A number that is greater than -2 would be +2. That's above, right? So we're going to shade above. So lightly shaded that. Shade it above. And we nicely shade our overlapping region. Nicely shade. You don't have to black it out, just nicely shade. Where the overlap is. And we don't go past our lines. That's true. So my two actual inequality graphs, the two boundary points, the two boundary lines. So don't black it out, but shade it in real nice. Don't black it out anymore after this thing. Because you need to see where your solutions are. Also, it takes too much of your time to black it out. Okay, so I picked on my outside. I'm going to pick on my inside. Cindy, you're back. Let's go with you. Cindy, what is one solution to my system? Anything in your shaded overlap, your overlap shaded region. 4, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Jordy, what's another solution?
0,
2, 2. Perfect. 2, 2. 2, 2. 2, 2.
yeah,
2, 2. All right, questions on that? Okay, so I'm going to have us practice knowing whether we shade above or shade below. So again, let's real quick look at our information to know. Above means greater than equal to. If you think about someone that is above you, someone that's greater than you, let's see, the president is greater than us in authority, so he's above us. Below, Someone that's below in authority, maybe your little sibling below you in authority. I don't know if that helps out. So greater than is above, below is less than. Okay? So for this next part, I want everyone to stand on up and come up to the front here. So get out of your seat, stand up, and come up to the front. Let's do number 5. Since we've done some practice with graphing, you guys seem to be really good with actually graphing the line. So let's take a look at some of our multiple choice problems. Because these are those types of problems that you see on the SOL where they ask you in a different kind of way. Alright, it says select the region that represents the solution. So we know that's where the shadings overlap. Now the problem is that right now you think you know what the shading is, right? You think they're both above, but we have to get it in y is mx plus b. Because remember that last problem we did? We ended up having to flip our sign, didn't we? Because it was a negative, so that could change your shading. So let's take a look at these two problems. Okay, so my first one, 3x minus 6y is greater than negative 12. And I want everyone to be writing this down. What's my first step in getting y by itself? Good, subtract 3x. You guys sound so happy right now. It's Friday. I've been looking for this day all week. It's our first full week in a long time.
And it is a 3-day weekend.
Alright, my x is negative, it stays negative. My 12 is negative, it stays negative. Okay? Now what do I have to do to get y by itself? Good, divide by negative 6. Oh, alarm should be going off. What do we have to do? Yes. I think there's a song for this. Whenever you multiply by negative. Flip the side, flip the side, flip the side. All I know is the flip the side. Something multiplying divide by negative. Flip the side, flip the side, flip the side. Okay, I'll work on that. Sounds good. So we flip our sign. We say let it snow as well. Negative 3 divided by, what's a negative divided by negative give me? Positive, and 3 divided by 6 is 1. Negative divided by negative, positive 2. Okay. So we see our y-intercept is positive 2. Is this solid or dotted? Dotted. Okay, so we just did some practice with shading above and below. Is this above or below? Below. So let's go to my line. That's my dotted line, y-intercept at 2, and we shade below. Again, when we're doing below, you start at your line and you go down. If I was doing above, you start your line and you go up. So, which regions is it not going to be? 1 or 4, right? Because it has to be where the overlap is. Well, if it's not in 1 or 4, our overlap's not going to be there. So we've only got 2 or 3 left. Okay, let's do our other equation. Negative x minus 2y is greater than or equal to negative 4. Alright, first step in yes, Maddie. Is it the same problem?
I know what the answer is already.
3.
Yeah, that was going
I didn't notice that. You're the only person who noticed that the whole day.
I
Well, good thing we didn't do number 3 yet. Then, we already have the answer once we do this.
It's different.
Number 3, the problem.
The graph is the same, but this, the problem is the same, but this is different.
But the way they do it is different. Yeah. So number 3, it was like they just gave you your problems and said solve it. Whereas this one, they gave us the graph already and said which region. But it's the same problems. No one noticed that. They're in your first.
Which, by the way, when you solve that, probably check those equations. Make sure those lines are correct. If your math doesn't match up with the line, you might need to check your work.
Yeah, definitely. How we checked and said, okay, y-intercept of 2, we should see a slope of 1 over 2. That's a good way to double check to make sure you didn't mess up your sign. Okay, so our next line, negative x minus 2y. How do I get y by itself? What's my first step? Add x. it's a negative x, we add x to both sides. So negative 2y is greater than or equal to x is positive, so it stays positive. 4 is negative, it stays negative. And next, what do we have to do? And what's happening in your head right now? Alarms are going off, meaning you flip the sign. I don't know what your alarms in your head sound like, but mine sound like this.
Mine sound like a little mini effect.
Oh, weedle, weedle, weedle. All right, -1/2.
I want to hear this negative attitude.
And positive 2. All right, we see it is a y-intercept of 2. And look, my slope is negative. And it is a solid line. Good. But which way am I going to shade? Below. So again, when it's below, I start my line, and I do lines for below. And so which area has my overlap? What number is this? Good, 3. So 3 is where my answer is. That's the overlap region. Good. So 3. That's your answer. Region 3. Awesome. Questions on that? And again, if you ever want to use colored pencils or anything like that on your quizzes, tests, homework, we've got them right here. If you want to use that for the different types. All right, so let's take a look at next one. Number 6. I like number 6 because at first you think you have to do a lot of work, but by using process of elimination, this is actually a really easy problem. All right, so take a look at your graphs. What's my y-intercept for the blue graph?
It's 2y.
All right, which one is it? My blue line?
Y.
What's my y-intercept? Good, 2. Okay, so looking at my possible answer choices, which ones have a y-intercept of positive 2?
Only one.
Look, we already found one of them. Wasn't that nice? Let's double check though. Positive y-intercept, negative slope, dotted line, shaded above. But see what I mean? We didn't have to graph the line. We didn't have to do much work.
What would we do if it was, like, say, the bottom left was positive?
So then we would, well, it would end up being the same equation, but we would need to look at other pieces of information. Look to see if, like, the slope, which one the slope is. Check your dotted and solid. Check your shading.
Okay.
So we just had to compare one piece of information.
Oh, no, I want to do the same question.
Oh, you're right. Actually, it wouldn't be the same equation because there'd be a less than. You're right. You're right. We'd have to check the shading. We're picking the equations that match the graph. Okay, so now let's take a look at our red line. What's my y-intercept for my red line?
-1.
-1. Okay, so which ones have that?
This. Ours have only this.
These top two, right? So now we have to look at more information. Well, we've got a few different things to pick from. We could look at our slope. We could look at our solid versus dotted. Let's do solid versus dotted. That's pretty easy. What should it be? Solid. Is it the top one or the bottom one that has a solid? Yeah. And if we look, it is a slope of 1/1. And we have that shape. Good. All right. Questions on that one? See how nice and simple that one was? All right, how about number 7? Oh my goodness, they've already done all of the work for you. They already graphed it. They already shaded it.
I'm not going to do it.
Sometimes they do. This is an SML type problem. Now they're also going to have you do the other one where you have to. Okay, so how do we go about this? What do you guys want to do? Yeah, I think checking solid or dotted is pretty easy, right? So my first line, is that solid or dotted? Dotted, right? So, let's see. Has my y-intercept at 2. So we know it's going to be a blue line they're talking about. And it has to be, so it has to be either B or D. So we know not A or C. Okay. Now, my other equation, well, they have both solid there, don't they? So that doesn't help us out too much more. Should we check our shadings? My first equation, the dotted line, is that shaded above or below? Above, right? Shaded above. So we would have to go from here up. From here up. Okay, so that's good. And what about my next one? Is that above or below? Below. So I go down. Oh, I think we found which one's our answer.
Why can't it be
A.
Oh, it's not.
This is supposed to be
Oh, I
dotted.
didn't show you.
Blue is supposed to be dotted.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so the only one that has the correct overlap is D there. This is my overlap down here. Good. Questions on that one? Okay, next one. See, these ones aren't so bad. Getting more than hang of it. Ooh, number 8. It says, for which system? Let's just talk about how to do number 8. Number 8, how would I do this? How do I check to see if it's a solution?
Yeah.
We can just put in x and y, right? So put in 0 for x, 1 for y, and see which one works. They have to work for both. Alright, your homework is worksheet 12. You should already have that. And do take note, I know our schedule's kind of off now. Our Unit 8 test is next Friday, so a week from today. We have review on Wednesday and test on Friday. And don't forget to take your e-card if you haven't already done so. We'll be heading you down next week. Okay, so like we said for number 8, just put in 0 for x and 1 for y. So then you want to find out which of these it actually makes a true statement. So if I put in 0 for x, that gives me 4 plus, or sorry, that gives me 0, doesn't it? So that would make my x 0, and then that would give me 8, which 8 is indeed less than or equal to 8. And if I put in 0, 1 is indeed less than or equal to 1. So actually, you find right away that A is your answer. It is good, though, to make sure you actually go through and check the other ones, just in case you might have made a mistake there. Alright, number 9, trade in the box to choose each point you want to select. You must select all correct points. The system of inequalities is shown. From the given point, select each point that is a solution to the system of inequalities. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to graph each of these. You're going to want to graph this system, and then remember, find whatever is in your shaded region. Whatever is in your shaded region. So I just recommend just draw a graph off to the side. So we have just a quick little sketch here. Alright, so if I graph my first line here, y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 4. Green. Alright, so the y-intercept of 1, and then my slope is negative 2, so down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. And that'll give me a rough little sketch here. It's a solid line, and we have that it's shaded below. Okay. Now my other line, you notice, we're going to have to get it in, we have to get it into y equals mx plus b form. So add my 2x both sides. I get y is less than positive 2x plus 6. If I graph this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 is about there. Positive 2x, so up 2 over 1. But since we're already off the graph, let's go down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. That'll give us our approximate graph. Again, dotted line. And that is shaded below as well. So it looks like our shaded region is going to be this area here where the overlap is. So anything that falls in that region is a solution. So 0, 3. That's out of it, not a solution. 0, negative 3, okay, that is a solution. 0, negative 3. 2, 5, over 2, up 5, not a solution. And negative 1, negative 4, is a solution. So there are 2 solutions. Okay. Let's take a look back. Okay. So again, with 3 and 4, you want to get it in the form y equals mx plus b. So get it in this form. Once you get in that form, then you go and shade each individual line. Just for sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here, but I will finish these problems and upload them on the Key to Blackboard, so you can take a look at that and see if you got it right. Remember, your homework is worksheet 12. Your test is next Friday, the 19th, so Wednesday will be a review day, 19th is test day, and then we'll have our midterm following that, midterm review, midterm test. All right, have a good weekend.